One thing about balancing forces is that balancing forces serve the purpose of creating balance in any system or pendulum that is out of balance in order to bring it back to normal, so to speak, or in alignment and into an integrated, connected state. Now, being out of balance temporarily or getting out of a certain zone, such as one's comfort zone, for example, can really reflect a temporary change that really only serves the greater good in the long run. And so it is not something that is necessarily affected by balancing forces. Balancing forces occur when faith is lost or trust is lost in the process only after a certain belief that sustained the process before the goal is disowned or forgotten or suppressed or a combination of these because any goal implies that there is trust in the process in order to achieve that goal. So balancing forces really just serve as maintenance that everything keeps, you know, like its structure, so to speak, so they are not like an evil entity or anything. However, because we live in a man's world, which is completely or just utterly separate from nature at this point, and women do not, women have only just been gaining their voices back. The truth is that balancing forces will take over, and what we see in the West, based on feminism, is already what it is happening like within humanity. But the thing is that humanity is also part of a greater system, which nature is the container of. And so, because nature is everything that is the physical world, because humanity is a physical species and manifestation of source or the creator, we all experience inevitably everything that the greater system experiences. So basically our power will get back to us. What I'm trying to say is that because we live in a man's world, women have been suppressed, and they keep being suppressed for a while at least. And men are initiators in general. We live in a men's world for a very good reason. Completeness of, anything finishes when polarities meet and work or have worked together. And in my opinion, femininity has never really responded to masculine initiation yet in a way that was conducive to human health even. So, any war or conflict between the sexes can be temporary, and in that case, if it happens in security, it can be constructive. But if it is truly rooted in insecurity and lack of faith, then the whole species starts to go downhill, so to speak, because of the war between the genders. So that will impact the greater universe at large, or whatever entity or thing or being humanity is a part of, and thus nature. Women are not the initiators, which is, by the way, important to sustain life as much as receptivity and feminine energy are. But women serve better in a secure environment that is already physically established, and they do not do as well establishing the physical security itself. That is a profound, eternal, timeless fact, because of the polarities between the two genders, or the polarity of the two genders. And women are better at digesting information. For example, food is a form of energy. When we eat them, our bodies do not necessarily digest the food. Sometimes the food passes through the human bowel system without having been processed at all, or ingested, or absorbed. And in my opinion, you are not what you eat. You are what you absorb. And what you absorb depends a lot on who you actually are and how healthy or, well-rounded or diverse you or your microbiome is, because your microbiome influences just about every part of your body, including your thinking and your brain, hugely. And so, because women digest well and better in general, they are the vessel between life and new life, if you know what I mean. They are the vessel between life and logic, in a way. Why? Because they are incredibly intuitive, and sensitive, most importantly. It is not just about intuition. I am personally mesmerized by the fact that women bleed every month, and as such, they, because they already contain those eggs that they essentially let go of every month, they, have no pressure to keep functioning in their being and in, like, sexually, but they depend on a certain level of peace and physical security to even be able to wind down enough before they get their period, for example. And sensitivity aside, they are better learners on a monthly basis, because if they respect their month, they do better in general. And a woman who does well is a woman who thrives. A woman who does not do well is a woman who suffers. And the reason I use these extreme words is because women experience emotional changes and depths to a different level than men. Their emotional senses are amplified, and they also need to be respected a little bit differently from men for this reason. But it doesn't mean that they do not need the same level of respect as men get. But feminism today as is really not the type of female empowerment that you want to see in the long run, because, for example, a woman respecting her own menstrual cycle is literally one form of female empowerment. But doing the opposite by essentially, adjusting to a man's world and trying to survive in it may not serve every woman well, although there are outlets for a woman in a man's world that can give her a sense of belonging, connection, and wisdom through, for example, socializing with people, being the CEO of a household and things like that. But generally, these things also are just not universal enough for a woman to completely, like, benefit from her personal power as a woman, because a woman has potential that is very valuable, worthy, and like very high quality, actually, no matter which woman you're talking about. In my opinion, a woman does lose physical value. Again, I base everything I say based on science and just ancient medicine and personal experience. Everything I say is backed up by research. So a woman has value that is, advertised. The younger the woman is, almost. In fact, a female is almost a celebrity, no matter which female you're talking about. If you take them living in the world, say single or without a man, they literally get treated like a celebrity everywhere they go. And I mean every woman compared to men, regardless of whether they have protection or bodyguards or a house or money or security in their lives. And this is the only reason why a woman's self-protective mechanisms are so important in today's world, is because the world is not safe. So we do not need protection. If the world had been safe and was safe, but we do need the protection. So we do need those husbands, and fathers who step up, actually. Now, another thing is, in my opinion, because a woman loses value after she bleeds, like after menopause, essentially, because menopause is just one day of a woman's life, actually. So it's a very short period. People tend to kind of overemphasize it because it's so impactful, almost as impactful as losing your virginity, for example, as a woman. But I haven't had menopause myself, so I cannot talk about that. But that basically implies that a woman no longer has eggs in her womb to bleed out, so she cannot get pregnant. She basically loses her physical potential to reproduce, and with that comes the internal loss as well. Many women become suicidal around that age because of the hormonal shifts and the almost a postpartum level of unprecedented, like, suffering. And after that, though, they get well, they are fine, everything's well. But it's not always easy, and some women supplement with hormones. Those women, I think, delay the sudden shift of a process that can be gradual by, for example, exogenous hormones and female hormones supplemented. But nevertheless, the potential loss is there. The reason I say that is because there is a reason why health is what creates like external beauty in a man or in a woman, but it is digestion is really such a foundation of overall health for both sexes. So the minute that you impede or intervene into your digestion in a way that your body cannot handle, you affect your health. And this is why taking diet seriously is so rewarding. And I personally believe that it's worth it. I have been studying nutrition for the past few years now, and I will seek for sure to share everything that I have learned on this platform so that you can benefit from knowledge as well. And again, everything is based on science, research, and valid, legitimate, valuable information. Stick with me, bear with me, brace yourself, because you are about to go beyond intuitive eating to a level that you may, become too successful to the degree that your environment will stop being able to handle you, because you are so truthful. Honestly, how can I say something like that, honestly, when everything seems to be lies all the time except nature? The reason I say that is because we all have nature ourselves, and how we treat that nature is how we turn out to be.